We're not taking out younglings, but we're going to talk about one guy that does. Let's go. Welcome back, guys, to Fort Mort. I, again, have that special guest. I've got Dagger doing daggery things. What's up, Dagger?
Hello, how's it going?
I love how sometimes he's so chill and sometimes he's so loud. Today's going to be quiet, but he's going to get loud here in a minute when we start talking about Jedi Knight Anakin. Yeah, I referenced younglings. All right, so let's start off, of course, as we always do, with the abilities. Basic, deal physical damage to target enemy with an 80% chance to inflict healing immunity on buff immunity and buff immunity for 2 turns. This, to me, this ability is clutch. And we talked about in the Padme video, this one, dropping the healing immunity on the Kylo teams, is clutch in order to get that team down. How about this one, Dagger?
Yes, the basic is really, really necessary for beating the teams that are resistant to courage.
Yep. How about that buff immunity? You find in places you use it as well?
The healing immunity I think is more important.
I agree.
I think on this team specifically, the buff immunity is less important due to, we'll get to this in Ahsoka's kit, but she's just going to rip the taunts off anyways.
Yeah, with the basic. Yeah, 100%. So, I get so frustrated when that buff immunity drops and the healing immunity doesn't. It's like, gosh darn it.
Yeah.
All right,
very good basic. One of the better basics, I think.
And again, we talked about this. All assists do what? Basic. So that you could drop healing immunity and keep it stuck all the time if you got the right amount of potency on him against the right character. Overpowering assault. My favorite ability on him, just to let the bird fly, deal physical damage to all enemies and grant all allies offense up and critical chance up for 2 turns. For each enemy critically hit, grant protection up. We're going to get into this in a second, how important this is. 10% stack into each Galactic Republic ally for 1 turn. If Padme Amidala is an ally, dispel all buffs on all enemies. This attack can't be evaded. How many times I brought this guy in with a Jedi and completely forget he doesn't strip buffs because he's not under Padme. How about this one, Dagger?
Oh, yeah. This is the ability that allows you to burst down characters with the Padme team.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about this as we go through the characters a little bit.
Yep.
But you want him to go after Padme. So you can either do the kick to neutralize someone or do the heal. So when he takes his turn, the protection up will expire to give him courage.
Yep.
So he'll use courage with this ability to deal additional damage. But yeah, this is the beginning of somebody just absolutely getting deleted.
We were talking about this offline, like in a Padme mirror, which are frustrating, but you've literally got to time it, because if you throw up your courage and then their Anakin takes the turn and rips all that courage off, and then you're not getting that extra boost. So you got to make sure that you time that out. And also with this AoE, you're adding the protection up as well, which is adding a tick of protection on there, or courage on there as well. So you're getting the bonus protection plus the courage stacking up.
Yes. This protection up that he gets here does stack on top of Padme's that she gets.
And another key word here is it can't be evaded. So foresight, sorry, nothing you can do.
Yep, and the dispelling all buffs. So the clause this attack can't be evaded happens after a period. So this attack can't be evaded regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But the dispel happens if Padme is present before the damage.
Exactly.
So he will remove foresight on the Padme team. He will hit through foresight when he's not on the Padme team.
Exactly.
That's an important distinction, I think, on this ability.
That is a very good point, because he's going to strip that foresight anyway under Padme, but he can also strip it outside of it as well. Good point. Good point.
He won't strip the foresight. He'll hit through it, but they'll still maintain it because they didn't evade.
Right. Yeah, it's all in context and wording. Right. That's why I bring him on. I tell him he explains better than I do. On the offensive leadership ability, I got it maxed out. It was just an Omega. I did this ages ago. I don't know if I recommend it, but Jedi and clone allies.
Do it for the ship!
Jedi, yeah, that's true. Do it for the ship. Jedi and clone allies have plus 30% offense and 20% critical damage, and other allies have half that amount. Whenever an ally is evaded, they gain advantage for 2 turns. I did utilize this in 3v3 for a little while before I grew up, because you just need as many teams as you can get. But outside of that, I don't really see anybody using it. Do you?
No, you just kind of nailed it. His lead is pretty nice in 3v3 specifically, because I've definitely used JKA snips and GK before.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you need the offense, you use him instead of using GK's lead.
Exactly. Yep. So when you're dying for teams and you're thirsty in 3v3, if it ever comes back, it does have some usability. Righteous Fury. Whenever another ally falls below, this is so good, below 50% health or is defeated, Anakin takes a bonus turn and his next attack deals 100% more damage. If all allies were Galactic Republic, and there's the key word, Qui-Gon Jinn teams is a good example of this. Don't put old Ben in that team if you expect to get that 100% damage. If all allies were Galactic Republic at the start of the battle, if Padme Amidala is an ally, she takes a bonus turn after each of Anakin's bonus turns. How cool is this?
Yeah, the Zeta I mentioned on the Padme video is Padme's like hidden third Zeta.
Yeah. So this is the this is the Zeta for Anakin, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This you also want to do this Zeta regardless because he's a pilot.
Exactly. You want to boost up that ship.
The other thing to mention, and I've had this discussion before, the 100% more damage he does is off of his base damage. He doesn't do double. Right? That's worth mentioning.
So you're saying his base damage being like on my screen 8716?
So go look at his AoE.
Okay.
And look at how the ability levels up. You'll see how it gets 10% more damage, 10% more damage, 10% more damage.
Right.
The 100% more damage from his unique is additive, not multiplicative. Which basically means you're adding that onto 100% more damage onto the ability, not doubling the damage output altogether.
Okay. See, that's the thing about the wording in this game that makes it so difficult. And these guys that have a bigger brain than me can explain it a hell of a lot better, because to be honest with you, I have a hard time understanding it. So, and I'm sure if I'm not the only one out there. But this is another one, like I said, a great ability and a 100% necessary. And like you said, because he is a pilot, the more relics you can get on him and max out his abilities, gold his mods if you've got the ability to do it, because those help out on ships as well.
Up to 6E. 6A right. And 6E are not different. 6A,
yeah, you just got to get to the minimum of the 6E, right?
The reason I said equal to his base attack is that 100% damage is you're just adding his base damage onto the attack.
Got it. That's what I love about Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. It is so complicated. It might be one of the most complicated games out there, and I think that's why so many people enjoy this game. And obviously starting out as a collector, but anyway, he's got increases through his mastery once he hits relic. His accuracy, we've talked about it not being all that important. Damage and defense penetration are his other two, which are really, really, really key for this guy because he is your damage output.
Yes, outside of the courage, this guy is going to do, outside of the assist from Ahsoka, this is going to be the single target damage dealer. Yeah, he is an AoE, but with his basic, he's going to do the majority of the damage.
Yes, plus that monstrous healing immunity, which is clutch in so many situations.
Yes.
All right, so from the modding standpoint, guys, there's a lot of ways to do this. So I've got all health mods on mine because I like health on my Padme team, and I have a feeling Dagger is not going to tell me I'm wrong, but tell me a better way to do it in his opinion, because there are multiple ways to do it. So keep in mind pre and post relic. So from a pre-relic to post, do you think there's a big difference, Dagger?
I think there's a nuanced difference. So until you get to relics, it's like we talked about in the Padme video. And the team relies a lot more on courage below relics.
Yeah.
So you want to mod him for more survivability. So I would actually recommend something like, you would do an offense or CD set if you want, but I would go like health circle, CD triangle, potency cross. You can even do health sets if you wanted, like you have.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get him to relics, you usually migrate to an offense or CD set because he just does enough damage. The other thing too to remember is he's a pretty good plug-and-play Jedi in general because of his basic.
He is.
Yep. So because of that, he's not always on the Padme team, which is the other reason why you mod him for more general use. And there's nothing... Yeah.
And Gacker's seen him a lot with Qui-Gon Jinn because the massive amount of damage he can do underneath that. So with Qui-Gon, because they're stacking all that offense and getting that offense from Qui-Gon, if he's modded right, do you think there's a different way to mod Anakin for the general way to mod Anakin under Qui-Gon? Do you want to add more offense? For me, I want him to be fast, I think. But outside of that, Do I really need to add more offense to him? He's already going to be hitting for a ton.
On the Padme team, the conventional wisdom, at least in my guild, or talking to the people in my guild who do well in GAC when I pick their brain, is to move him over to a speed set. Because, like you said, he gets all the bonus damage from Qui-Gon, where he doesn't need as much from himself. You just need him to be fast. Because you need him with the speed from Qui-Gon to be able to start to outspeed some of the Bad Batch is the best counter, or the cheapest counter to this team. So you're trying to get him fast enough to outspeed Echoes.
So, yeah, that makes sense. You want to get out in front of Echo. And a lot of people are supposed to be modding him fast. Let me ask you this question. So I've got all health mods on mine. And my thinking behind this is the more health he's got, it turns into bonus protection, which then is going to increase his damage as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, this is fine under the Padme team. There's a lot of ways to mod him.
Right. So I've left mine this way because I've always run it under Padme, and I may revisit because of the Qui-Gon Jinn. That's why I'm actually asking that question, although my guy is already running 276 with the health mod, so I can run him theoretically very versatile between Padme or Qui-Gon. I mean, he hits like a truck under Qui-Gon. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, one of the things that Qui-Gon affords you to do is you can just ignore his offense almost completely.
Yeah.
And you can actually get him up to like 300, 310 speed. Yes, I understand that's a big number to a lot of people.
Right.
But when you're trying to outspeed endgame Echoes, you got to be 360 somehow.
And you got to keep in mind, too, what level of player you at. When you start running into teams that you can't beat, a.k.a. you start seeing Bad Batch. Okay, I can't beat this Bad Batch with Padme. I need to start making adjustments to my team. And B, I should be farming mods. And this guy, Dagger, is the guy that actually, here I go complimenting him again, is the guy that really got me to start farming my mods heavier when I start realizing how far I was behind on farming mods. And it's paid off, so thank you, Dagger.
Yes.
So painful. All right.
I take very little credit for that. I think everyone was screaming at you to work on mods.
That's true, but I think you started that train. So from the standpoint of the top 100 mods, 24% of guilds are doing crit, chance, crit damage kits, and then the second one at 15% is health with offense. Nobody on here is doing what I'm doing with health and health, so I'm going against the grind. What's your favorite build?
So there's some amount of discussion between offense and CD, and I won't bore you with it because I haven't done all of the math myself. But I've been told that offense is better in a full Galactic Republic team, and CD is better on a non-full Galactic Republic team. So on the Padme team, I'm led to believe, and with the Qui-Gon team, that if you're not modding him for speed, offense is better because you're giving him more base damage to add to that 100% extra damage.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. I ran into an Anakin recently that I could not kill with my nest. It was a defense. It was a defense modded Anakin. It was redunculous. But anyway, off subject. All right, so to give you guys a rundown so you can get a visual of what my mods are looking like, I've got some of my better mods on there. There's a 26. Let's see, we got protection here. I actually would prefer, I think, a health mod here, but I just didn't have it, and I couldn't give up the speed, and the offense is ridiculous on it, so I just went ahead and sacrificed it. Crit damage on the triangle is a big one for me, and then I like potency on my Anakin as well. Overall, the stats running 86% on the potency, 192%. Crit damage. I really want to land that healing immunity, so I put the potency up high. It is clutch for me, and then my damage is running like 8716. I think I've got an extra 2300 on that. Any thoughts on those, Dagger?
Yeah, so just to touch on why you like the potency, I mentioned this in the Padme video. There's not a lot of CC on this team, crowd control on this team.
Yep.
So when you have the control, you really need to lean into it. But again, this all boils down to what are you using the team against? What are you trying to have it beat on defense if you're setting out defense? But especially if you're using it on offense, I already kind of mentioned that it's a burst damage team. But his basic allows you to essentially use your basic on anyone to stop them from getting stealth, stop them from getting taunt.
Yeah.
So you can either ignore them or whatever you need to do. Because he's a really good 1-2 punching of himself because he AoEs, removes all their buffs. Then on his next turn, he just puts buff immunity on somebody so they can't regain them.
You couldn't hear it, but I think Swagad.gg has got quick ad commercials, but it just blared in my ears, so I apologize for that, guy. I think we're having that Windows open. That some ad came across, so my apologies for that. I'm still trying to figure out where it's coming from. It happens once or twice a day.
It assaulted my eardrums, but I tried to power through it.
Yeah. So my bad if it was loud. All right, so let's talk about relic priority for this guy.
I will pair him as I did in the Padme video. His priority is directly related to your negotiator fleet.
Yeah.
And he should be on par with Kenobi. So I would say in general, his relic priority is like 7, maybe an 8. But if you have the negotiator unlocked and are pushing it to 7 stars, I'm going to say this for Kenobi too. Both he and Kenobi need to go to R7. Like, I'm not going to call it a 10, but we'll give it a 9.5.
So, yeah, so I was leaning toward, I've got it written down as a 9 myself because I like the ship. I like his abilities. I like his versatility to go from team to team. There is no downside to Jedi Knight Anakin outside of him taking out children. What about the Zeta priority?
His Zeta, I would recommend doing his Zeta after you've built up your Padme specifically.
Yep.
Because basically his Zeta is Padme's third Zeta.
Yep.
Right? She gets the bonus turn. It helps you cycle through her heals and her kicks and her basic for protection up. That Zeta basically adds additional survivability to the team.
Yep.
And is generally important because, and Mort brought this up in the Padme video, this team was initially built to counter Darth Revan. So one of the reasons this actually worked against Darth Revan is Darth Revan would put death mark on the leader every time somebody went below 50% health.
Yep.
On Anakin's unique, it says whenever an ally falls below 50% health, he takes a bonus turn. So Padme taking the bonus turn after Anakin actually allowed her to cycle out of the death mark.
Yes, and that was so frustrating too. Whenever you take a DR in and all of a sudden it goes sideways versus Padme, it's like, God, this team is so frustrating, very frustrating.
Yes.
The only savior in grace is if you got your Malak modded right. You almost can't lose that if you've got a good Malak, but you're going to lose banners 100%. It is not an ideal matchup.
Anakin is one of the top handful of just Jedi damage dealers.
Yeah, and
as Mark goes more through the Jedi, you'll see that a lot of them are supports or they have turn meter kits. Right there, they're not a lot of raw damage Jedi.
Yeah. So
and this guy's one.
To your point, because the game is changing, I do like the Zeta because of the ship. I do like the Zeta because of the Padme team. So I don't see a scenario where somebody's actually, there's probably out there, but very few people are going to level up their Anakin and never have their Padme ready and not need that Zeta to the point where you're using Padme outside of the team. You know what I mean? At some point, you're going to be using Padme in this game for a year or two before she becomes a support rather than a leader. So for me, the Zeta is a priority for multiple reasons, and one of the biggest ones being the ship. I like the way you say it's Padme's third Zeta.
Yeah, I think back in the day, the Anakin Zeta was third or fourth. It was like GK, it's like GK, Padme lead, Snips, Anakin, Padme unique.
Yeah.
I want to say that was the back in the day Zeta order. I don't know if that's still true now, but that's to the best of my recollection what I remember.
And honestly, I don't think you could go wrong with it. This whole team deserves them. So, which we're going to go into Ahsoka Tano next. So that'll give you guys a better look at that as well. But on my sheet, as you guys can see, I've got him purely health mod because I like that extra bonus protection for survivability and for damage. But you can do offense set with health. You can do all 6 health, and you can do as the community saying, and keep in mind the community that's doing the crit damage, crit chance is at the end game as well. So that's the majority of the top guilds that are listed on GG that are showing that. One other thing Dagger pointed out that I want to touch on too, and I think he said it, but you want Anakin to go second in the lineup, right, Dagger?
Yep.
Behind Padme.
Yeah, so you want Padme to go first to either neutralize a target who's going to go before. So when you get to the end game, at least, your Padme is going to be 300 to 310, probably somewhere in there.
Yep.
So there's going to be a rather large gap between her and Anakin, usually 20, 30 speed. So generally, if you're going against a team who you need to neutralize one of their fast characters, you're going to kick them to neutralize them.
Yep.
Otherwise, Otherwise, you're going to lead with the protection up to stop them from getting crit, and then Anakin's going to dispel that protection up on himself, turn it into courage, and do either his basic or his AOE using said courage.
And that's a valid
point.
Once
we get to Ahsoka, we'll talk about her special and how that lends itself to the burst damage that goes into this team.
Yeah. And that's a valid point, too, that I wanted to bring up on this, guys, is something you need to understand about courage. That courage stacks up when they go to take their turn, so let's say Anakin's coming to take his turn. Let's say he's got 11 stacks of courage. Once it's his turn, that turns into basically the damage now. So he's going to remove 10 stacks of courage to boost himself up, leaving 1 stack. Unless somebody strips those stacks of courage, like you'll see B2 to B2 do to them all the time. B do. But you get the point. So that's how the courage mechanic kind of works. They'll hold on to it until they take their turn. Then it converts. And I know I've seen on my Padme over 30, 35 stacks before. It's difficult to get to that point, but if you get that train moving in the crowd control, it can be done. So any other thing you want to touch up on that before we cut it off there, Dagger?
Yeah, once you get to the end game, Anakin's role kind of changes. We talked about this with the Padme team, how she kind of like migrates.
Yeah.
Anakin does as well. So there are times that you will change him to actually be modded similar to what Mort has here, where you'll put like a health cross or something on him because of the way the interactions with him, Snips, and Cam work under JMK. So just bear in mind that like there will be corner cases that don't follow conventional wisdom on characters like Anakin because of how they're used.
Right. And my basis of these videos is to give you the most versatility to be able to use it anywhere, anyhow. If you want to do specific modding, there are different videos out there for that. But this is for guys that just don't know how to mod, or maybe they're making mistakes with modding or whatever else. And we want to get the point across that there are different ways to do it. But if you just don't understand it, or you need some kind of somebody to lead the way for you, here you go. And that's why we're doing this. Well, once again, Dagger, thank you again. We'll get into Ahsoka Tano. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know, and probably than I'll ever say again. So don't forget, guys.
Thanks. I'm glad you finally started doing YouTube.
Thank you. Yeah, yes. Although tomorrow someone will be asking me why I don't have a channel. Appreciate y'all. We are one battalion strong. Don't forget to hit that follow button. And if I could speak today and get it right, in the meantime, one battalion strong.
And check out the merch.
Yeah, that's right.
Shut up and sit down.